Hey guys, I'm Dayna from the blog This Yellow Farmhouse, and today I wanted to chat about slow autumn knitting and what that looks like and feels like. As we head out of summer, which can be a season of a mixture of busy days at the beach and also lazy days in the backyard, and we move into fall, it can be so easy for us, myself included, to jump straight into a new school year and markets and knit-alongs and Halloween prep, and before we know it, we're already into the holidays. So I invite you to take a pause with me today and fully breathe in that cooler air and spend a little longer in the woolly stitches of a new cast on and really appreciate the start of a new season. So grab a cozy warm beverage and some knitting, and I hope you enjoy today's video. In this video, I thought I would share with you some of my favorite cozy fall knitting must-haves that really set the mood for slow and purposeful knitting, and that includes patterns and colorways from indie designers that I'm loving this autumn, cozy things that just cater to our fall knitting time, including an autumn playlist that I'm listening to right now, and perfect fall candles that will just make your whole house smell like you've been baking all day. And at the end, I'm also going to share my grandma's homemade apple crisp recipe. And my hope is that this inspires you to deep dive into fall and slowly just embrace the change of seasons through all of your senses in a way that ultimately connects you back to your knitting, and more importantly, knitting as a process and not only as a product. I'm an autumn girl. There are 5 birthdays in my family that are fall birthdays between me and my husband and our kids. And I also learned to knit one November 11 years ago. So for all these reasons, it just is a nostalgic time of year. And I always feel like it doesn't last long enough. I always joke to my husband that I'd be okay with summer and summer weather ending in like mid-July, which for us is right after Independence Day, and then get an extra month and a half of the crisp temperatures and bonfires and watching puppies and kids chase crunchy leaves out in the yard. But sometimes fall can start to feel a little overshadowed by the upcoming holiday season, and we end up rushing through it, don't we? So how do you fully embrace all that is fall knitting when there are markets to prep for and Christmas gifts to start on and knit-alongs with deadlines? So for me, that is slowing down my autumn knitting. What that looks like is really knitting with intention, knowing that your knitting has a purpose or deadline, but then not letting that overrule your joy for knitting, and really taking in every stitch without rushing it and feeling the soft wool between your fingers and the weight of a project with calm progress being added to your needles. Really often I pick up my needles between making dinner and eating for a few half-heartedly knit rows, or I knit a few stitches between pulling my toddler off the coffee table that she's just learned to climb. But I never regret the times when I can really savor my knitting and focus on it and immerse myself in that time. So now that we've covered the importance of slowing down our autumn knitting, let me share with you specifically how I do that. So in the autumn, I like to search out new knitting designers and indie dyers. So when things are rushed, I haven't planned ahead, and I have a knitting project to finish quickly, say it's before a baby shower or before Christmas morning, I tend to run into Michael's or Joann's or hop online to Amazon and have it sent directly to my house. And I fall back on patterns that I've already made instead of taking the time to see what else is out there and what new techniques or yarn blends I haven't tried and I can explore. And while there's absolutely nothing wrong with craft stores and favorite tried and true patterns, it doesn't let me grow as a knitter. It can easily make me feel like I'm in a spin cycle of rinse and repeat just to get something off my needles. So in the fall, to slow things down before the whirlwind of gift giving, I really love to actively search for new patterns and yarn and designers. And watching knitting podcasts has opened my eyes to so many that I've never heard of, as well as browsing on Instagram and Ravelry and Lovecrafts. And when I find these patterns, I like to look in the comment sections to see what other kinds of yarn people are recommending. We learn so much from knitting podcasters and Instagrammers and Ravelers, but there's also a lot to learn in the comment sections. And also searching hashtags and forums. And I really just love scrolling through the really good suggestions for substituting yarns. And there really are so many ways to discover new to you designers and patterns and yarn that might be the perfect match for what you want to gift someone. And you never would have found it if you had followed your rushed default of running to the closest craft store. So some designers that I am loving this fall, I wanted to share one in particular, and she's actually a crochet designer, and her name is Michelle from Tales of Knots, and I'm currently crocheting her Hayride Shrug, which can be knit up in something extra harvesty, like her example of green and orange, or like the neutral autumn one that I am crocheting in browns and grays. And then one dyer that I wanted to highlight this fall season is Amanda from Mandy's Makings. Her fall 2021 collection has colorways like wooden beams and golden wheat fields, and it's just amazing, and it makes me want to spend all my days out in the woods with the changing colors of the leaves. So now that you've found your new yarn to have glee over and new designers to go check in on, it gets even more fun because now it's time to knit. Fall is a time of new beginnings, like new school years and changed routines inside and outside the house, but not all of our knitting should be rushed and should be done waiting in carpool lines and just done with a few stitches while dinner cooks, knitting while exercising. I really believe in refreshing your knitting space. Even if you continued to knit wool sweaters in the summertime, dusting off your yarn shelves and clearing out the half-used skeins and crumpled labels that we all have in our project bags. And then when you put it back together, you can add a little bit of autumn to it. So pull out any cozy autumn progress keepers you have, like maple leaves or cinnamon rolls, apples, and pumpkins. And if you don't have any, then now's a good time to seek out and buy from a small shop owner, or you can even do DIY your own with felt. So I made tiny pumpkin progress keepers that I shared in the Farmhouse Knitting Podcast Season 2, Episode 6, just using wool felt pom-poms, and I will link that for you. I also take this time to unpack any fall candles I put away last year because there's really nothing like knitting to candlelight with a breeze coming in the open window just before bedtime. So some of my go-to fall candles are the brand Candles and Bath & Body Works. Pouring a cozy, warm autumn beverage of your choice and plopping down with a candle, and with Taylor Swift's Evermore album, your knitting just feels more relaxing. It feels permanent and it feels slow, like you've canceled all your plans and you'll just be in your cozy nook knitting forever. The last piece of this autumn knitting puzzle is baking a fresh autumn dessert and savoring it between knitting your rows. So for me, that's my grandma's apple crisp. Even as a picky eater, the smell of her apple crisp made me never want to leave her house. And now I gobble the whole thing up and I'm pretty content all weekend long. And then now with my family, one of my favorite autumn things to do is to spend a Saturday collecting apples from our apple tree and baking them together into sugary magic, and then also enjoy it again in secret after the kids go to bed when all is quiet in the house. So I wanted to share with you my grandma's apple crisp recipe to help get your cozy autumn knitting started off on a tasty foot. So you can find that free recipe below in the description. And I really hope this guide to slow autumn knitting has sparked something in your heart to really embrace the new season and invite all of your senses into your knitting time with woolly, warm yarn and nostalgic, yummy smelling candles, tasty apple crisp, calming music, and a refreshed knitting nook that really just inspires you. If you liked this video and want to see more like it, please click like and subscribe to my channel. This is completely free to you and supports me in all that goes into making these cozy knitting videos. So thank you guys for watching.